My grandma was 93 years young, and I always say young because she never ever classed herself as old. She was bright and bubbly, fit and healthy, very independent. She lived alone in her flat, and that was something that she was really, really proud of. The day that she got killed was just a normal day for her and for our family, but unfortunately it changed our lives forever. I found out about 11:15 that night that Grandma had been hit by a vehicle. And so I had to go and identify her close to midnight with horrific injuries. So I share Grandma's story because I want something positive to come out of the tragedy. I want people to learn from what happened to her, and I want people to realise just what tragic consequences just a couple of seconds of inattention behind the wheel can have. Where Grandma got hit on the pedestrian crossing was a very, very busy road, and it was around peak hour traffic when Grandma was hit. The people who witnessed Grandma getting hit, they're on their way home from work and they're just in their daily life routine. So just imagine how it affected them and how it affects you if you were the first on the scene to have to try and help someone with critical injuries. Not only does it affect ours as her family, but it affects the witnesses and the emergency services who have to attend to these crashes as well. My mum and my grandma were extremely close. They spoke several times every day, and if they didn't see each other, they'd definitely be talking on the phone. So that particular day, Mum knew that Grandma was in town playing cards because that was her regular routine for a Thursday. So Mum would ring her later at night, and on that night, Grandma hadn't answered the phone. So Mum wasn't too concerned to start with because Grandma was a bit of a bugger for not picking up the phone if she was watching Coronation Street, or if there was something specific on the TV she was watching, she'd be, wouldn't answer her phone. But as it got a little bit later and later, Mum became more and more concerned that Grandma wasn't answering, and she should have really have been by that time. So Mum drove in from Taradale and went to her flat, and as she approached Grandma's flat, she saw that the curtains were still open and the windows were open, and Mum thought, oh God, she's probably fallen over inside and broken her hip or her leg and she can't get up. So my mum let herself in, expecting to see Grandma with a broken hip or something like that inside her flat, but no, she was nowhere to be seen. So Mum got a bit panicky and went to the neighbour, and the neighbour had said to Mum that she'd seen her walking home from town earlier on in the afternoon. So Mum didn't know what to do, so the neighbour said, I think you should either ring the police or go to the hospital. And because Grandma lived reasonably close to the hospital, that was the option that Mum took. So she went into the emergency department and said, I can't find my mum, have you got her in here? And that's how my mum found out. So Mum got met by a nurse from the intensive care unit, and he took Mum round to the family room, and he had very, very minor details about what had happened. He was still a little bit unsure what had actually happened to Grandma. He contacted the police and said that the next of kin was there, and the policeman arrived and said to Mum that Grandma had been hit by a driver who had been texting, and they were still investigating exactly the details of what had happened. At that point the road was still closed, so there was a full investigation ongoing, and the policeman just looked at Mum and said, oh, we'll discuss, when we get round to ICU. And she turned straight to me and said, she's dead, she's died. And I said, but you don't know that. She says, I do, she's died, you can just tell. And that was as we were walking along the corridor to get to ICU. When my brother and I left the hospital later that night, we decided that we would drive past the pedestrian crossing on our way home. We kind of thought, well, you've got to do it sooner or later. And as we approached the crossing, there was a whole lot of blood there on the road, and we kind of both looked at each other and said, oh, maybe that wasn't a good idea, because we knew exactly whose blood that was. So I ask every one of you to talk to your family and all of your friends, and when you're in a vehicle and you're the passenger, don't let the driver be using their cell phone while you're driving, because they're going to put your life at risk as well. So just help me spread the message to not use your cell phone while driving. It's just not worth the heartache and the devastation that it can cause. Just think about that last text message that you sent or you received, and is that text more important than somebody's life? And I think you all agree that no text is worth someone losing their life for.